Yes. It's that time. It must be that time because the music is on. And just like Pavlov's dog, we hear the music, we just start salivating and talking. Welcome in, Three Guys Before the Game, episode 506. Bearcats bounced. West Virginia wins the home finale. We'll get into all of that and more. Hoppy's here. Great posture today. El Senator, a bit of hunched. Senator's hunched over. Elbows on the table. I don't know exactly what it is.
Thoughtful pose.
Ready to go.
Oh, he's on his haunches.
Ready to launch. Let's go.
Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems. They happen to keep West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. Visit them at comaxwv.com. By Go-Mart. Go for good times. Go for Go-Mart. Unofficially, Go-Mart currently has 82 tons of beef jerky purchased from its locations at deer camps across the state of West Virginia right now.
Stocked up and ready to go.
Yeah. Three Guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. Tell you about that Avalon Tri-Toon boat they've got. Special Three Guys price. And Three Guys coming up, Spreads on Stats, brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers.
Brought some wonderful cookies to us last week. Are those anywhere in the building?
No, they didn't make it to the. Yeah, they're gone.
About 3 of those, right?
They went bye-bye.
A little for breakfast with my Three Guys coffee.
It would have been
this
good with
morning.
some coffee.
Yeah.
Breakfast of champions.
Speaking of the Conley CPA Group, speaking of numbers, yesterday afternoon at the ballpark, West Virginia doubles up Cincinnati 42-21 in a game that wasn't that close. West Virginia led 42-7 entering the final quarter. They're up 42-7 after Jaheim White's 4-yard touchdown run. A couple of late Cincinnati touchdowns. That one they scored there, the first one of the fourth quarter, that was pretty nice. Reverse flea flicker. You got to say that quick. Reverse flea flicker. That was a pretty nice play. Anyway, game took 3 hours and 22 minutes. I thought with all the running it was going to be over like 2:45. But eventually they had to start throwing that thing around. What a game individually for Garrett Green and Jaheim White as they put a performance on the field that will long be remembered. Individually, Garrett Green throws for 210, completes 12 out of 19 with a TD and a pick, hits a long of 75. Garrett on the ground runs for $154 on 11 totes. That's a 14-yard average per carry with a long of 30. He scored. He crossed the goal line 3 times. And Jaheim White, who, yes, the Senator. Early on, if you go back and check our old shows, he advocated for him, Heisman candidate. Did you or did you not say that?
I did.
Yeah. Well, he tried to help you. He got it 21 carries for 210, netted 204, and scored a touchdown with a long run of 47. He averaged 9.7 yards per carry.
On 21 carries.
Yeah.
It's not like he had 4 carries and went for 9.7.
No. So you add it all up, and West Virginia did exactly what it needed to do. It bounces back from the poor Oklahoma game. It guarantees itself a non-losing season. Well, actually, they guarantee themselves a winning record, not a non-losing season. You could go 500 and have a non-losing season. They're 7 up and 4 down, 5-3 in the league. Next week, it's the Baylor Bears. They did not ask Three Guys before the game what time we wanted to start.
No, they did not.
No. So instead of the 11 a.m. Central that we had been hoping for, we get the 7 p.m. Eastern back here. However, if anything has been settled this year by this program, among the many things, is this time listing situation. Luke, if you would you put up the graphic that came out late last night? And there you go. And our monitor sucks, so we can't see it properly because instead of like the ratio it's supposed to be. It's like 1 to 0.12. But anyway, they list every time in the time of where the game takes place. So the West Virginia game, even though it's listed as a 6 p.m. Central, they put 7 p.m. Eastern first. It's a great day.
That's new because they've been put in the Eastern side. So I think we've through the weeks, you got it first on the graphic, then you got it correct, and I think as we've finished up the regular season here, I think we've broken through.
You know,
I think we're there.
To be quite honest, no, I hope they're not listening. I think they're overcompensating because the Baylor West Virginia should say 6 Central, 7 Eastern, but I'm not going to.
No, it shouldn't. Because it's never listed that way. You always list it in Eastern first, then Central, then Mountain as you're moving across the time zones left to right on your screen. Everybody for the history of TV listings has listed it Eastern time first. So no, they're finally doing it correctly now.
So
it should be.
It made me kind of chortle because the Oklahoma State game is listed Central Mountain. So they don't say anything about the East. They just go Central Mountain. So we did it. We fixed it.
Finally.
Well, with help of Wren.
Yeah, Wren helped a lot.
Oh, Wren was huge. I mean, Wren was huge in that. There's no question. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. Wren was the Johnny Appleseed of the whole thing.
Credit for the crowdsourcing for the listeners as well. They took over a bunch of threads throughout the year. That poor Big 12, they put that time out there, and it got ratioed right underneath it with Mountaineer people asking for Eastern time.
All right. That's not why we're here, but I just wanted to point that out. 7 o'clock for WVU Baylor in the East.
Real quick before we get into our opening statements here, I want to point something out. You mentioned they're secured a winning record. If I have this correct, someone texted me this last night, and I think they're right on the money. If West Virginia wins next week at Baylor, it's just the third time since joining the Big 12 that West Virginia will have won at least 8 regular season games. So you talk about having a nice bounce-back season, exceeding expectations.
Right.
It's pretty good. Can be the third team since joining the league to get 8 regular season wins.
Yeah.
That's in play.
It is. All right, so let's bust this thing down. Hoppy, takeaway.
Well, let's think about what maybe the goals were yesterday and see if these boxes get checked. I'm going to run through some things.
Sure, go ahead.
Did WVU win the game? Yes. Did WVU win a conference game? Yes. Brad, did they win in convincing fashion? Did the Mountaineers bounce back with one of their better performances after one of their worst performances? Yes. Did the seniors or fifth-year players or whatever you call them now, did they go out with a home win? Yes. Was the defensive line dominant? Did they hold Corey Kiner in check? Yes, 57 yards. Did Garrett Green follow up one of his most disappointing performances with one of his best? Yes. Did you see the full potential of Jaheim White? Yes. Did Don Nehlen receive his appropriate honor? Yes. Were fans rewarded for coming out on a cold day as a holiday week got underway? Yes. Did West Virginia secure a winning regular season? Yes. Has West Virginia exceeded expectations as set by Las Vegas? Yes. Did Wren Baker breathe a sigh of relief because he's looking for reasons to keep Neil Brown and not have to answer as many questions about Jimbo Fisher? Yes. All those boxes were checked yesterday.
2 more. You held the Big 12's leading quarterback rusher in check. You also beat your Big 12 conference's biggest rival in Cincinnati to add to your list.
Yeah. So point being, one of my favorite movies is Gladiator, and the Russell Crowe character says at some point, "Are you not entertained?" Wasn't this everything you want when you seek to be entertained in Mountaineer Nation yesterday? Everything was there. You got everything yesterday, including sunshine. A little cold, a lot of sunshine. You got everything you could possibly want in that game.
That's Hoppy's take. Very good. Center?
Yeah, I think that's well said, Hop. I mean, you just totally dominated for the second straight home game. Lined up in a game that we spent all week saying, well, I don't know. They can run it pretty well. I don't know. I'm not sure about this. Oh, the line's moving against you yesterday on a big game. Oh, I don't. And you just lined up, punched them right in the face. That was never a game. That was absolutely never a game. Ran for 4 bills on them.
Unbelievable.
That was the 5th-ranked rushing defense in the Big 12. You just lined up, punched them right square in the face, and did that. Here's the other thing. I think you talk about some overarching themes throughout the season. You just went for 4 bills on a team that had been pretty good against run defense, and you didn't have your starting line. Right? So start to speak to some depth, and you start to look ahead a little bit next year on what potentially you have. You lined up this year and I'll have to go back and try and add these up. It's going to be hard, but it's not many. The number of snaps you had with your complete offensive line and a healthy Garrett Green starting quarterback. There's not many of those. Because the beginning of the season, you didn't have Green. Middle of the season, you didn't have all of your line pieces. When you got the line pieces back together, they only lasted a few plays in those games before you had to bring some people in. So credit to the entire offensive line unit, not just the starting guys, but guys that have filled in and were able yesterday to absolutely roll. Dominating performance.
Yeah, so someone brought this up. As you said, Hoppy, and I'm looking back here. The offensive line woes that Neal inherited were epic.
Yeah.
And his first year on the ground, they averaged 73 yards.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. The talk all that season was, could you get to 100 yards rushing?
Correct. They averaged 73. And to your point, I'm just going to do this if this thing behaves nicely and works well. I wanted to kind of watch. I think we could probably build a pretty nice graph of the thing going up. But to your point, Brad, they gained under 1,200 yards that entire season. Yesterday, as you said, they amped up over 400 yards. His second season, he went up to 135 yards per game. So it's kind of just continue to climb up there.
Yeah, because you've built it. That's what he came in first and said, all right, I got to build the offensive line. That led to, you talk about a first full circle moment, that led to Zach Frazier's commitment, deciding to stay home and come here and becoming the first freshman in well over 40 years to start on the offensive line, play his whole career, be an absolutely dominant performer by the time he was done. We say all the time, when you make plays when you're a baby, you're probably going to be pretty good.
Yes.
He did, didn't he? There were multiple times his freshman year where we went, did you see that? All right, this guy's got a chance. For him to be able to walk yesterday, he's headed off to the NFL to make his name there. For him to finish up the way he did at home in a dominant running performance like that, I thought that was a perfect cherry on top for his career, for a kid that came as part of a rebuild, took the most important part of that team and helped grow it up, and then to finish as the most dominant part of the offense. Could have left at some point. Talk about transfer portal. We're going to talk about money and NIL in a minute. Could have left, didn't, decided to stay home, and was a valuable piece of finishing off with a dominating rush performance to end it.
You can say it now. I mean, he had a heavy, heavy money offer from Alabama.
Oh, did he?
Yes, in the offseason to go.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he did. And he didn't. And he stayed. And right now, as of yesterday, this offensive line is now averaging 233 on the ground.
Yeah, wow. Pretty good.
So they basically 4x'd
pretty good
from where they were in year number one. Okay, so yeah, that was another big point. We'll get into textual healing and a bunch of different thoughts.
Well, one last thing before we start to dive into some things. Credit the defense too.
Yes.
The defense got absolutely embarrassed at Oklahoma. There was a lot of talk all week about them. They turned around and put forth a really good effort, especially early when that game was decided. And I thought it was pretty telling early. Scott Satterfield 2 different times had a 4th and less than 1 and did not go for it early in that game, which I was stunned. Thrilled for West Virginia. We were talking about it on our broadcast. I breathed a sigh of relief when they did not. I couldn't understand why he was doing that. A 3-win team on the road, try and win the game. I know both those times you were in your own territory, but that was a stunner. That told me early on, okay, West Virginia's got this game. That they're afraid to even try anything here. West Virginia's got this game. So credit the defense for being very, very good early and making life difficult for Cincinnati.
Lee Koba led West Virginia defensively, had 10 tackles, including a sack. Anthony Wilson, 8 tackles. Beanie Bishop, 5 tackles. And as you said, Hoppy, you don't know what to call senior day anymore. Either way, there are only 12 guys that walked. 12 guys that walked. I talked to the great Michael Baker, the touchdown maker, on Friday night at the Don Nehlen reception. 27 guys, his class.
Your concern these days is not as much about those who walk on senior day as those who walk on non-senior day.
Yeah,
they
it's not
get drawn
transfer
away.
portal day.
Yeah, it's no longer you've used up your eligibility. It's just what offers are coming. And again, I don't know who Jaheim White has around him for his folks, but I guarantee there were some calls or texts coming in last night. I guarantee
Well,
Jaheim White's going to field some offers. We'll talk about what happens next on the NIL side of things because the West Virginia folks here have some work to do on that side of it. You just mentioned, I think that number you said right there, Tony, tells you something. How many people walked?
12.
That tells you you've got a bunch of people that are potentially coming back here for this team. And we can go down on. There were a bunch of freshmen and redshirt freshmen, but there are also other folks that aren't freshmen that need to be retained. And as Hoppy, we spent a lot of time talking about this yesterday. The retention is no longer just on the coaches. In fact, I would say the bulk of the responsibility of that is not the coaches as it once was. If we're going to play in this pay-for-play world that we're in right now, and you can complain all you want about it and say it's not right and say you don't like it, doesn't matter. That's the world you live in. And if the world you're living in is pay, and the way you're going to pay players is through these different collectives that schools have, West Virginia has one collective. So the Country Roads Trust, it's going to be incumbent upon them to be out here starting, should have already started, but throughout the offseason here, having enough in the bank account, Hoppy, that you can pay these players that are coming back. And West Virginia has a chance to bring a bunch of them back. But they're going to field offers from other schools. You better be able to have the dollars to match it.
We started, Brad started on our program yesterday, on our broadcast, a fundraising drive for listeners, 1-800-KEEP-THE-PLAYER. So we're efforting that.
Well, I talked to Neil about it last week, and once the season is over, that's a dead week. So the week after the Baylor game is a dead week for all coaches. But what has become is player retention week. So that's when you go back and you bring all of your players in that you want to keep, and you have meetings with them. Their position coach meets with them. The head coach, if he gets involved based on who it is, and you have to say, okay, because the next week the portal opens, and you need to try to lock in and retain. And to your point, retention potentially is as important as recruitment at this point, because you have really nice you have a really nice nucleus. Can you keep C.J. Donaldson and Jaheim White together so that you go into next season with a really nice tandem of running backs, and among others?
Wyatt Milam's going to get significant calls. Can you keep Wyatt Milam home? That line, you have a chance, if you can get the dollars together, you have a chance to keep that line relatively intact. Now, you lose a massive piece in Zach Frazier, but if you keep Milam, if you keep Remack, if you keep a Yates, if Nick Malone decides to come back for another year, which he's eligible to do, and plug him in. You saw Sully Weedman play some snaps yesterday that you can roll in. If that line stays intact with a couple pieces behind it to back up, and you only have to go into the market and look for a center, a proven center, okay, that's pretty good. Your receivers 2 through 5 come back. You saw Rodney Gallagher get fed a bunch yesterday. He's going to be a dynamic playmaker, but guess what? You better go keep him too. There's going to be calls coming. Hudson Clement, Preston Fox, go right down the list of guys you need to keep. That offensive unit, if you do it right and you go raise some money, you got to have some people out there raising money. If they go get the dollars and that offense can remain intact, then you can focus your efforts on the defensive side that's going to have to replace some guys, a Beanie Bishop, a Malachi Ruffin, a Marcus Floyd, a Lee Koba. There's some playmakers on defense that are gone, so you're going to have to do work there. This, to me, is an ultra-important offseason for the fundraising side of Mountaineer football, and that doesn't necessarily just mean the internal people. That the trust has got to go get the dollars to keep these guys in place.
And also, it's the first year that West Virginia has a general manager by title going into this. Drew Fabianich was with us earlier this season, and this is where he is evaluating what's here and evaluating potentially what is going to be available out there, and now it gets real fast. And as we said, next week, not this one, the week after is dead as far as recruiting. That's trying to keep the ones here that you want to keep, and then the week after that, portal opens at some point there, and then you just kind of hold on to your fanny and hope that everything stays the way you want it to stay. But it won't. Invariably, guys are going to leave. There's going to be some head shakers. There's going to be, are you kidding me? There's going to be a lot of, what? Why? You're going to have that. It's just going to happen, so get ready for it. All right.
And then you better be ready to poach when that happens. When you get one of the, oh my gosh, then you better be ready and have enough dollars that you go in and you pull somebody else out to make that team go, oh my gosh, we just lost them to West Virginia. Yeah. That's just part of the deal. Hoppy, you're going to get poached. You better start poaching.
You know what is really hard about this discussion, which is so relevant, is that you don't know How much is in the NIL trust? I mean, you don't know. I mean, you kind of have a rough idea of how much you think you need, somewhere in the 4 to 5 million range, but you don't know how much there is or the fundraising effort and how much people. So it makes it hard to have. We can talk about it in generality, but you can't talk about it in specifics.
I shared with you the conversation that I had on Friday before we started recording with a former Power 5 Division I head coach, right?
Yep.
About, I don't need to say his name, right?
No,
anyway,
so refresh my memory.
We were talking about a running back that was being recruited by a school, high school senior running back. So I was talking to a coach, Power 5 coach.
Oh, today? Yeah, I think you meant last Friday. Yeah.
Right? So I was talking to a Power 5 coach on Friday and who's got West Virginia ties. And no longer here. But he's recruiting a kid to a massive Power 5 program. And high school senior. They're recruiting him. They think they got this running back. Georgia comes in, high school senior, and gives him $1.1 million. Gives him $1.1 million.
Probably is a Heisman candidate this year. Went for 1,000. Yeah, you give him $1 million, he probably went for 1,000.
Probably not. So that is the world that we're living in. And until we figure out the new normal of how this is going to be controlled, because eventually you'll get some kind of restrictions or some workable system, because there's a finite number of elites. There's more in that middle than there is the elite. The middle at some point will have enough voice to say, wait a second, we got to figure this thing out.
But
or it could just be what the market bears.
I was going to say,
yeah.
But the problem is that you're right, Tim. There's maybe only a certain number of elite players, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the market is going to skew and say, okay, this guy hasn't taken a snap, we're going to pay him $1 million. Okay, that's what the market is. Maybe it defies common sense, but if that's what the market is, that's the world in which you got to compete. However, I don't see how West Virginia and most other schools can compete in that market.
Yeah, but here's the thing, guys. It's following the path of coaching salaries too. There's some coaches in schools that are paying coaches that you think, what are you talking about here? Again, you're A&M and you're giving Jimbo $75 million to not come in, and you're going to be bummed out because you spent a little more on a running back that didn't work out. That's the cost of doing business, man. There's schools all over the place that are dumping millions of dollars into coaching staffs that don't work out. Cost of doing business. That's what it is. And again, we don't need to rehash the should they or shouldn't they. I mean, Jaheim White doesn't deserve some dollars for an entity that's making an industry that's making billions of dollars. Garrett Green doesn't deserve some dollars. Yeah, of course they do. So you're going to miss on some and you're going to overpay on some. But here's the deal. As long as you want to be in the big boy football, you better turn out to have big boy money. You better go get the dollars. So you better figure it out. Just part of the deal.
Just need to find one billionaire that will endow something. That's all we need.
First, get $1 billion.
One billionaire to give us $100 million, make it into an interest-bearing account, and just pull off of it every year, and you're fine. All we need is $1 billion. If you happen, at the request of three guys before the game, if you happen to know a billionaire that would be willing to create something, creatively, financially, that would take $100 million and put it into a pot that you could pull the interest off of annually, it would certainly help West Virginia. Fair, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm figuring out the interest right now.
Well, yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
How'd it look? Pretty good?
Really good. Yeah, got some interesting things. Yeah.
There's some stuff that made you go, woo?
If you had $100 million,
yeah,
and you just got 5% return, that's $5 million. I mean, that's simple.
I'll take care of it. You're going to get more than 5%.
So I checked the numbers. We'll just go right to the numbers. Here comes the heater.
Let's jump into the analytics portion of the show. Time to find out what the professional graders think of West Virginia's performance over Cincinnati. This is Spreads on Stats, brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, an organization that provides so much more than just regular old digits.
Cookies.
They do. Value beyond the numbers, serving clients throughout the state of West Virginia since 1985. They're a public accounting firm, consultation firm. What's your business need? Some tax planning, preparation, consulting, advisory, outsourcing your accounting. They can do that. They can outsource your CFO services. That's a really expanding portion of their business right now. Don't need to have the CFO in there taking a good parking spot in your lot. Chase him away. I mean, Conley CPA Group will come in, do all that stuff remotely, and you just do your business, and they'll take care of all the numbers. It's the Conley CPA Group, value beyond the numbers.
As we often do in the Sunday segment, let's take a look back at what we talked about Thursday, see how we did. Congratulations to those listeners of Thursday's episode that knew that Cincinnati came into this game 12th out of 14 teams in opponent quarterback rushing yards. As you heard on Thursday, might be a good day for Garrett Green to go off on the ground. How did he do on the ground there, Tony? Do you have those numbers right in front of you?
Let me get that out here. Let me see. Rushing, Greens, Garrett. Yeah, this is him. 11 totes, 154, 154 yards, 3 touchdowns, long of 30, average 14.
Pretty good. So we thought Garrett Green would have success on the ground. That came to fruition. The other part of that discussion was that was going to be the game within the game, Hoppy. Emory Jones came in as the leading quarterback rusher in the conference. He was held to 56 yards. So a lot of things indicated West Virginia dominated and was going to win that game. I think that was right near the top. Two teams that wanted to run it, who could run it the best, who could control the running game, which quarterback that likes to run could run better. West Virginia answered in the affirmative for all of those. Absolutely rolled Cincinnati in that regard. The other part, flip over to the other side of the ball. This trend remains. We talk about it every week. We're going to continue. We talked about West Virginia has to keep teams in passing downs. If they keep teams in passing downs with the magic number of 30% of the time or more, they win. Now 6-0 with that mark. 6 of the 7 wins have followed that. When West Virginia holds a team to being forced into passing downs 30% of the time or more, they win. Cincinnati fell behind early, had to throw the football 40% of the time. Cincinnati was in passing downs. And what happens, Hoppy, why is that number important? It's not just a stat. What does that mean for that number? When they're in passing downs and you know they've got to pass, what can West Virginia's defense do?
They can pressure the passer.
And when you pressure the passer, what happens to the back end? Is it a little easier to guard?
Yeah.
Play some defense back there? It is. And we saw, so if you look at, this is one of those things, we used to just go with the traditional counting stats of sacks and TFLs, which we still look at, but now it's pressures and hurries, and sometimes it doesn't even show up on a stat. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's pressure and forces a throw, and you don't get a number for it. West Virginia had some good moments. Sean Martin got in there and had some early pressure. Lockhart with that sack. Cutter forced an intentional grounding. Koba had a sack and a quarterback hurry. So West Virginia's at its best up front when there's multiple guys that are coming through there. Kind of the surprising part there, though, West Virginia had some success coming through the left side of Cincinnati's offensive line. It was their right side for the Bearcats that had more trouble. West Virginia was getting it from all over, just dominated that game.
Did they put a stat out there for Sean Martin on that illegal procedure against Cincinnati where the play kind of went on and Sean just kind of like with two hands just pushed their quarterback down? Then he went over, picked the kid up, kind of felt bad because a flag had been thrown. He just kind of gave him a push and the kid went down.
Well, and Brad, as you pointed out numerous times yesterday, you and Steve Dunlap, is that Cincinnati was not comfortable passing. They were not a team that wanted to pass in that game yesterday.
There were multiple times on 3rd and long where they just checked down. They were not interested in trying to have their quarterback throw it downfield because we talked about that. That was not good. Emory Jones under pressure has a 44 grade from PFF, and not uncommon. Quarterbacks under pressure don't do well. That was the exact formula. Run the ball against Cincinnati, force them to have to throw it, you're going to win the game. We talked about that Thursday. That came to fruition. That was an easy one. Cincinnati in the first quarter had a 0% success rate on passing downs. Is that good?
I don't think that's great.
That's not good. West Virginia won that game early, and it was over pretty quickly right there. So those were two big keys we talked about. You saw them come to fruition. Some other numbers that I just found interesting going back to this rushing game. Jaheim White, just fantastic yesterday, as we mentioned. How about this one? He had 10 missed tackles forced versus Cincinnati.
Wow, that's a number.
10 in one game. That's a massive number.
He made 10 people whiff.
Yes. And they were true whiffs. Sometimes a missed tackles, you try an arm tackle and you run through it. He had some whiffs. If they were playing two-hand touch, he's still running on some of those.
Garrett Green did as well.
He did as well. And those are your two guys that lead the team. But White has now moved into first place in that category for the season. 30 missed tackles forced on the year for a guy that doesn't have the carries of some others.
So do we have to start calling him the elusive Jaheim White?
You could do that. That would be fair.
Yeah.
Elusive.
That would work, yeah.
9.2 yards per carry in the game. I mean, just unbelievable for the team.
That works.
For the team. Kept the ball for 35 minutes, so you had time of possession. Last time West Virginia had a 200-yard rusher, do you see this? Justin Crawford back in 2016.
Did see that yesterday.
Yeah, so good job by Jaheim White getting through that number. One other note, I'll give Dunlap credit for this. He's the one that noticed it first, and he noticed it early. Talked a lot about what Oklahoma did last week in something they hadn't put on film, changed the way they were approaching the offensive line with some movement beforehand, and West Virginia didn't have an answer for it all game. Yesterday, Neil Brown, Matt Moore, an adjustment. Went into more gap blocking instead of zone and absolutely just mashed up front. So once again, another great tweak. You have a week to prepare. You got embarrassed the first. All right, what's the answer? There's an answer to stuff, right? You do this, we're going to do this. They got that fixed, went to a new blocking scheme, and absolutely dominated. So well done there. Number that, I don't know if we've talked about this one before, field position rate, and that's the percentage of plays run from the opponent's side of the field, 58% for West Virginia. 58% of its plays run were done in Cincinnati territory.
How about that?
That's some domination right there. West Virginia's average first down gain, 12.8 yards.
Can we bottle that?
You win some games if you do that.
Can we bottle that and take that with us forever?
Yeah.
First down average gain, 12.8 yards. Are you kidding me?
Wow.
Pretty good. All right, what else do you want to know?
That's
Those are just some numbers that jumped out to me.
How about some Garrett Green individual numbers? Like, obviously, he passed it well. He ran the ball at a super level.
It was, that's, again, going back to the entertaining concept. Tony, I'm sure you looked up, had some great calls, because it's great to have calls when something's big is happening, where Garrett Green's just running wild. I mean, just running. Nobody can catch him. He's running around guys. I mean, exciting plays by Garrett Green.
One great play design was the 75-yard touchdown pass to Jaheim.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that.
Because what they did was they brought Rodney Gallagher over in motion, where he has often been the recipient of a jet sweep handoff. Mm-hmm. But instead, they hold it back. Now, there's two routes that are going on there. Mm-hmm. And the deep route that Jaheim was running is a long route to get established. Uh-huh. And that's why Garrett had to hold on to that ball, and he took an absolute shot and never saw the ball caught. And White made a superb individual athletic play to go get that ball because it was wide.
Made a great catch. Wasn't all that wide, though. I'll give Green credit for that reason. He saw the guy bearing down on him. Probably threw it just a half a beat earlier than he wanted. Mm-hmm. When you talk about touch, to drop it over, I think that was a linebacker that was in front, and there wasn't a lot of clearance. He gave it a little extra air to let White run under it. That was an absolutely beautiful pass. Green really had two of them that stood out to me that I think show the potential that's coming with him with another year of full-time reps. I mean, the strides he made from what we have seen him before in spot duty to being the full-time starter and playing it, I'll say it again, at an all-conference level. Kid's been unbelievable this year, running and throwing it. That touch pass was incredible. And the other one, when he wound up and threw about a 99-mile-an-hour fastball in between three defenders and dropped it right in there, that was a one where you went, that was a wow. That was a wow moment.
Neil has talked a good bit this season about Garrett and his passing. And the good part about it is Neil says a lot of it is fundamentals. And it's feet, and it's hip placement, and it's those things. So you just hope that in the offseason, they just has a wonderful, wonderful offseason of just getting those things fixed, and that will increase his efficiency.
No question. You look at the drive chart for West Virginia, and the opening drive, I'll admit, made me a little bit, what's happening here? You were moving the ball with ease. An absolutely horrific miss of a late hit out of bounds on the quarterback. Green's 2 feet and the White gets hit. Changes that drive. I think if you get that call that you should have, I don't know how that's missed. That's got to be on the tape today. And apologies coming from the office saying we missed that one there. They probably go down and score, but they didn't, and you missed a field goal, so you didn't score on that one. Then you go touchdown, touchdown. Then you had to punt, the one drive where you really didn't do anything. 3 plays, 7 yards. Then you went touchdown, 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 touchdown. And the next one where that interception came from Garrett, he hasn't had many this year. That, to you know what that felt like to me? That felt like to me Garrett Green going, you know what, I'm making every play. I can make every play out here. I'm just going to try and jam this one right in. Because
That was on the third and goal from the 23.
Yeah, so you were going to score points on that drive. You could just see the confidence meter was at about 4 billion. He just said, I'm going to try and jam
I'm going to try to stroke it.
Yeah, so you don't score there. Then at the end of the half, you kneel down. You could have scored on that one. I mean, again, there's a million ways you can show domination in this game. That drive chart's unbelievable. Really, theoretically, should have gotten points on every single drive but one.
And
Pretty
also,
remarkable.
the usually when you see that kind of performance where you score that many points, you look and you think, okay, the other team must have turned the ball over 2 or 3 times. They didn't turn it over. That was just an offensive dominance. You didn't get any breaks from them turning the ball over in bad positions.
I wonder, I'd like to do a little stat. Maybe someone that's got time on their hands among our listeners. I'd like to know what teams' records are in the second game of a 2-game road trip. So that was the second game in a row. They were at Houston last week. They come here. BYU played respectable in its first game against Texas, and then they come to Morgantown the next week, and they get boat raced. I'm just wondering, like across the league, when you have to play 2 in a row on the road, what's the average outcome of the second game?
No, that's a legitimate question. I think the variable, though, it has to be opponent adjusted. So, but
I think
I
you can take a general thought, general, and you could kind of further break it down. But I would just.
How about BYU? I mean, BYU just looked awful when they came here, and then they were in that game with Texas right to the very end.
Matchups matter. Matchups matter. Situation, travel, all that stuff matters, and I think that's just another reminder that you've got to talk more about that. What you do one week doesn't necessarily mean it happens the next week. It matters where and who you're playing, how they're doing, what their mindset is, and all that matters. And matchups matter. That's why I continue to say I thought Saturday's game would be closer there too.
Yeah, I did too.
Because the 2 rush offenses against run defenses there, I thought it'd be closer. Wasn't. You just absolutely lined up and whipped them.
Yeah.
Every facet.
Spreads on Stats brought to us by the Conley CPA Group. Individual grades with Jaheim White. How do you
Very
do?
good. He and Green, as you would expect. Green 91.3, Jaheim 89.9, 92 highest graded offensive players.
How'd CJ do?
Oh, good. He was right up there too. 3rd highest greatest.
Tell you what,
didn't get a ton of snaps. But
he
went out there
surprised
and
me.
gutted it.
He surprised me that he played as much as he did.
Agree.
I mean, I saw him practice Friday. He was kind of carrying that leg with him. I'm like, he's probably not going to be able to go.
A lot of credit to our guy Malachi Ruffin. Comes in as the highest graded defender for the game. So good job. Those defensive backs all graded out well on yesterday.
Well, that's all good. Conley CPA Group, proud sponsor of Spreads on Stats. If you need numbers for your business, check them out. They provide value beyond the numbers. So much more than just accountants. We had lunch with them, and we found out they're so much more than accountants. They're good American people that don't get nervous around tax deadlines. They laugh.
Hey, one last thing before we move on. I know you already played the stinger, but I'll give you another one.
Wait a second. Oh, wait. I shut the music up. You let me use the 3-second one. I never get to use the 3-second one. You want to restart it? Okay, go ahead.
One more number. West Virginia had spent most of the year as a really left-handed team, which made some sense, running behind Milam and Remack over on the left-hand side. But lately, and this speaks to what we were saying in the open there about the offensive line becoming more balanced and better across all of the positions. Yesterday, on just going over the right tackle position, so not even around the right edge, but between the end and the tackle there on the right side, that was their biggest area of success, 107 yards just through that particular gap. Right over there again.
Nick?
Yeah. So become right-handed over the last couple of weeks. So now, as you're trying to scout that, you don't know if you're going left, you're going right, where you're going. The other thing I'll say, that was a really good switch before the season to put Nestor out at right tackle and move Yates into guard. Both have had very, very good seasons. So, again, credit Matt Moore and the group for recognizing that, making a tweak, and having it hit with a great deal of success.
You know, Yates got knocked out early. So Jaquay Hubbard, a friend of our program, size 18 shoes, did a great job. So you think about it, during the course of this season, Jaquay Hubbard has played massively important snaps, and Nick Malone, perhaps the biggest surprise among the backup players, he's become a semi-starter. Various things have gone on that offensive
utility
line.
Infielder. He's played left tackle. He's played right tackle. He's played tight end at times. He's been outstanding.
Don't forget about Hubbard's now we've come to depend upon pregame inspirational talk to the young men.
Yeah. If you go back and watch that tape, on each of West Virginia's touchdowns, there were massively important blocks that you would normally not, you just don't respect. You just say, oh, well, you know who scored the touchdown. Traylon Davis on Garrett Green's run toward the hospital side of the stadium, mega. Hudson Clement, Traylon Ray had massive blocks. Zach Frazier, to no surprise. I mean, if you go back and go watch West Virginia's scores, you'll see a key block on each of those.
To your point, the two highest graded run blockers in the game, Traylon Ray, number 1, Hudson Clement, number 2.
That's
Neil
awesome.
Brown made a point of that.
Your receivers are blocking well.
Yep.
You've run for a big number. You don't even need to see what the number is. You just know that's
without
the
getting
case.
holding calls.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Comax Business Systems. Their digital phone systems are competitively priced and efficient. They keep your business staying busy. You can call Comax Business Systems. They'll give you a free quote today. How many lines you need? 1, 5, 10, 15, 25, 30, 35. I got 100 lines. They can do it. 150, 200, 375, all the way up to 1,000 phone lines and more. From 1 to 1,000 phone lines, digital phone systems for your business ready. ComaxWV.com. Plus, they just about do everything else. Textual Healing coming up. Lou Wendell also, fantastic sponsors. We get ready to how about this? Buy the Tri-Tune, Avalon Tri-Tune special boat that they're offering for our 3 Guys listeners right now. It's the 2385. Put a ribbon on that thing and put it under a tree.
Great idea.
For Christmas, right?
Great idea.
I mean, that
Sure
would
fit in
be
the living
something
room.
that would be memorable. It's the 3 Guys special, and it's available to you right now. That is the 2385 Avalon Entertainer. Top of the line Tri-Tune model. Whatever you need to do on the water, you can do it. Plus, comes along with a Honda 150 motor and trailer. 3 Guys special price, $89,774. Just ask for it when you get there. I want the 3 Guys special. And I'm coughing.
You all right there?
Wow.
That would be a great Christmas
My goodness.
present, because you know
dang.
it's coming soon.
Give me a cigarette, would you?
Boating weather coming soon, Hoppy.
Voting weather coming soon.
Just right around the corner.
Now,
Just
question.
right around the corner.
Kind of get through winter.
Kind of see it. You lean out over the side, you kind of see it right around the corner.
Question.
Days are going to start getting longer.
Legal or not legal, with deer hunting season starting tomorrow, like, could you take that near the shore, just kind of put it at a relatively slow speed, and just kind of go down, close to the land, and just kind of float a little bit? And if you see anything, can you shoot off of the pontoon?
There might
We got to
be
bring
some
Chris Lawrenson on this for a
regulation
call.
about
What do you think,
that.
Brad?
Don't know about that. Don't know the rules there.
From the water into the
Not sure.
I'm saying
Unclear.
probably not, but just in case, might want to do that. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. You can see that for yourself. Just head over to their business in St. Albans or check them out online. LouWendellMarineSales.com, the Avalon 2385 Entertainer. Put a ribbon on it. And yes, they are the same folks that supply James Bond movies when they do have a pontoon in a scene. It is a pontoon from Lou Wendell Marine Sales.
Sometimes they shoot those at the scenes and they just get cut.
Sometimes you don't see them in
just
there.
'cause they get,
Not everything makes it in the movies.
I mean, the movie's already 3 hours long.
Editing room floor.
Yeah.
Textual Healing. Our phone is open to you at 304-404-4083. 304-404-4083. Textual Healing is brought to us by episode800.com, where our holiday shopping offerings have exploded since we announced them on our last episode.
Exploded.
The coffee from Mountaineer Roasting is flying off the shelves, be a digital shelf. So thank you. Mountaineer popcorn, which is they made that custom Mountaineer munch for us, chocolate popcorn with peanut butter drizzle. There it is right there. Is that gorgeous or is that gorgeous?
Nice.
Shepherdstown is where they make that stuff. It's called Mountaineer Munch. You can get that on our website. Great Christmas gift. Of course, we got the Always West Virginia Connection apparel and the Hope line as well, with our project that we're working with WVU Cancer Institute, making a donation to the Hope Project, which is just an incredible thing. Partnering with the folks there. They have farmland in Marion County. They raise food for the families and recipients of cancer treatments that cannot afford it. They then provide that food, and the folks that work the farm are folks with disabilities, and then we're funding it to keep that program going for people, and that's the stuff you see on the site, Hope. So that's really neat stuff as well. So popcorn, coffee, Kirchvale, by the way, that's going pretty well.
Is it?
I bought 3 4-packs
Reason?
Thursday
For the holiday?
Holiday gift.
for a gift
Gift
for some
giving.
folks.
Oh, okay.
So I went in there, felt pretty good about myself going over to the Gucci Kroger and pulling out 3 4-packs.
So is it, because my wife was looking at the Saberton Kroger, was efforting there.
Yeah, I don't
Didn't have any success, so she's got to go to the Gucci Kroger?
I'm not sure if it's at
Sold out?
I'm not sure. I mean, Corey's, I'm sure he's got it over there. We can find
Yeah,
out.
I'm sure it's been there. It probably just sold out.
Probably
it's hard to
sold
keep
out.
on the shelves.
It is.
Flying off the shelves.
Yeah.
So the Christmas catalog's been going well?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep. Going really well.
Still got some time. Get in early.
Bourbon barrels. Make sure, hey, seriously, all kidding aside, a lot of that stuff, the order's got to be in by December the 10th because there's a 10-day wait. Like the bourbon barrel, we have one being hand-delivered today down in Fayetteville. Our guy Dave is driving down there. He's going to hand-deliver one in Fayetteville. Thank you very much. 3 guys also brought to us by Go-Mart. What a fantastic time of the year it is for Go-Mart because you're going to need fuel to get to deer camp or wherever you may be going. And if you go on a Tuesday or a Saturday, triple rewards points all month through December 31. Plus, they got this wild thing right now. Shocker. It involves sweetening your tooth. Bonus points. You buy specially marked M&M's products during the Winter Wonderland promotion. You get game tokens, the purchase of each product. And then all 5 game tokens could get you 2,500 bonus points. Seriously? Best part, no limit to how many times you can do it. So a magical offer. Don't let it melt away. Visit gomart.com to learn more. All right. So textual healing. Can I make a general comment?
Of course.
Thank you. So this is not going to make some people happy, but nevertheless. So there was a bunch of text in here about coaching change, about Jimbo Fisher, about not happy with the quality of wins. So now we've gone from getting enough wins. Now we're talking about the quality of wins. And there's a group out there that says the quality of the wins aren't good enough because the people that West Virginia is beating aren't going to have winning records, or that when they play a team that has a winning record, that they don't beat them. So Oklahoma, Penn State, and Oklahoma State, and then obviously the absolute blotch job against Houston. So the quality of wins is being questioned. So I think this, like we could sit here and read all those, or we can just generally theme that discussion. Because there are some people that are not happy that West Virginia won yesterday.
True.
There are people that are unhappy. And I'm not here to change your opinion, but I am here to give you fact. And the fact is that Neil Brown will be West Virginia's football coach next year. Now, if that makes you bummed out, I'm sorry, but that's the reality of it. So for those of you that are sitting there and not happy with it, that's the world. And
Should be head coach next season.
why wouldn't you?
I mean, it's not even it's off the table for discussion. Probably has been for a while here. There's just no reason to have the discussion here. Let me throw something out that's not complete. Maybe it's might be able to find something in here if you want to go nitpick enough. But can I go through something here real quick about that as we talk about goalposts that are getting moved? First, it was you got to win.
Put the glasses.
Then you got to win more than over the win total. Then you do that. Then it's you didn't play anybody. So let me just run through this. I just found this interesting. As I figured this discussion would come up. But there's 7 teams that are tied with or have a better record than West Virginia in Big 12 play. I'm taking Big 12 play right now. Okay? Only 3 of those have a win over a team ranked above them in the league standings. Iowa State beat Oklahoma State early in the season. Oklahoma beat Texas, and Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma. West Virginia has a win over Texas Tech, which it's tied with in the standings. The only other one like that, Oklahoma State, has a win over K-State. They're tied in the standings. So that's 56 total games. Among those teams that I'm talking about, there's only 3 wins in those 56 games over teams ranked ahead of you in the standings. If you want to take Texas out of this discussion because they're the first place team, they don't have anybody above them in the standings that they could beat. That's 49 games, 3 teams over teams ranked ahead of you, 2 wins over a team that's tied with you. Kansas State has 8 wins with 1 to play on the season, has only beaten 1 team that's bowl eligible. Oklahoma has 9 wins, ranked in the top 10 much of the early season. They have 3 wins over bowl eligible teams. Kansas has 7 wins, and I think they only have 2 wins over teams that are bowl eligible. So this is what you do. You beat the teams you're supposed to beat for the most part. And West Virginia's been very good at that, save for the Hail Mary. Now the next evolution and the next stage is you pick somebody off. You pick off one of those teams that you're not supposed to beat. Did you get one this year? No. But you handled your business with everybody else and turned in a season better than every prognosticator had. But I guess the point to that is it's really hard to beat the teams above you in the standings. The teams that are tied with you or above have done exactly what you've done. They've handled their business with the teams that are below you in the standings. I just found that an interesting research there. The perception, I think, by some are that there's other teams out there beating all of these teams they're not supposed to. And for the league in this particular year, that's just not been the case. They've been beating the teams below them.
I think those are really good stats, Brad. I think that really really quantifies where things are, looking not just at West Virginia but other teams. And this too, let me restate what we've said many, many times, that heading into these final 3 games, you lost to Oklahoma, that if you had lost the last 3, there would be a legitimate discussion with the director of athletics as to whether or not Neil Brown should be retained. And part of that discussion, Tony, would have been with people who do give to the NIL effort, because you got to raise the money. And if there was a lot of pressure from some of those key people, like, well, I want to give money, but I don't like the way the coaching situation is. What about Jimbo Fisher? Then the athletic director would have had to consider that in deciding what to do. Okay, but that's not what happened. What happened is West Virginia bounced back. They've won 7, may win 8, may win 9, but they bounced back, and played a really, really good game. So I think that's all off the table now.
5-1 at home, and you pounded your last 2 teams that came in here, and you're trending upward. And you want to look at it from a glass fuller than full. Take away the stupid 2 Power 5 opponents.
Add another win,
and take away the Hail Mary, and you're sitting here with 10. But anyway, like I said, I get this. Trust me when I tell you this. You're never going to be able to convince some people, so my job's not to convince you, because it doesn't matter. You're going to have your opinion. That's totally cool. Fine. But anyway, that's what we're doing.
One last thing on this, so we'll move on because it's not a discussion, and there's not going to be a change. There wasn't going to be a change. You were going to win one of these games, and you were going to move on. Here's the other thing to watch. I know it's really easy to sit and scream, fire, fire, fire. But you don't do that when you're the athletic director, when you're the one making the decision. You're looking for multiple things. And are wins one of them? Yes. But you're also watching the tenor of the team and the interactions with the staff and the team. And one of the telltale signs is you've got to see if the messages are getting through to the team. Are they listening? Are they able to be coached? And at every point this season, even through losses, this team has the attention, or this coaching staff has the attention of this team. That's been clear. The bounce backs have been there. And I give both the coaching staff and the players a lot of credit. It's hard to stay on task and listen to that when there's so much outside noise and people flame throwing, and that's impossible for kids to get away from. It just is. It's not like it was 20 years ago where you could shelter and keep some of those messages down. They're hearing all that. And for that group of players to stay focused and listen to coaching and bounce back in those games, that's the exact opposite of what happens when you're ready to make a change in your program. So take some of the wins and losses out of it. Watch how and I know fans don't do this. It's not their job to do this, nor do they even have any idea this is happening. But when you're the administrator in charge of that, you're watching exactly that. And you're watching those interactions. And there's a reason why this athletic director is down on the field next to the team bench, right? You're seeing those things that Joe in Grafton doesn't get a chance to see. And I think
all due respect to Joe,
this particular group of folks, players and coaches, have done a fantastic job there. And it was clear a long time ago in this season that this was not going the way that it normally goes when you're making a coaching change. I thought it's been obvious for a lot of this year.
Jason in Parkersburg, in Paris over the Easter weekend, just returned to the hotel after scouting out Jim Morrison's grave. In the lobby, elderly couple checking out of the hotel. Lady looks at me and smiles, noticing the flying WV. She says, West Virginia, huh? I live in a town called Parkersburg. Love the podcast. That's signed by Jason in Parkersburg. Jason also asks this, does the Big 12 need a name change? You're going to have 16 schools in the conference starting next year. Do you change the name Big 12? You're going to have 16.
Is the Pac-12 now going to be the Pac-2?
Whatever it's going to be. But, yeah, I mean, what about Big 12? Do you need a name change?
No.
Brad.
No, don't care. Big Ten hadn't changed the name either.
Texter, this football season's been a roller coaster, but one in which truly the football gods have smiled upon us. As you can see, TCU's win paid for my honeymoon. So he sent a ticket where he must have hit big. Definitely no TC stance on wedding during football season, but I had to make an exception considering my bride and myself, both in our 30s, coaching baseball along with swimming takes precedence. Here's hoping the Mountaineers rebound, and like the great Bill Belichick famously said, we are on to Cincinnati. Can't wait to finish off the wedding singing Country Roads like any good West Virginia does, and knowing I'll have a victory over the Bearcats to watch on the plane to Jamaica. Blaine and Charleston, happy wedding.
I got married in football season.
Yeah, you did. 3 guys. How much of a role did athletic director Ren Baker have in the Big 12 partnering with WWE? Any chance he'll be in the ring at an event in the future? Men in North Carolina. Haven't specifically talked to him, but Ren was not involved with the World Wrestling co-promotion with the championship for the Big 12 football title game.
He does like wrestling, though.
He loves wrestling. I'm not putting out – one day I think in a perfect world he has wrestling up here in Morgantown. He's trying to make money.
Cool. I'd like that.
He's trying to make money.
In.
Texter, heater coming.
Into.
Heater coming. Brad had his worst take of the season Thursday. Cincinnati chili less than the sum of its parts. Love the show. Signed anonymous. P.S. Not hearing a lot of last names. Congratulations to a Mike from Salem for being so brave.
We did put Mike on there. This person didn't sign it, and you're wrong.
This is pretty interesting.
Anonymous, dead wrong.
Text, this is pretty interesting.
Par for the course.
Let's discuss Cincinnati-style chili. It had its day at the U.S. Senate in 1974. Generally acknowledged that the great chili debate commenced when Senator Barry Goldwater, Republican of Arizona, took umbrage at the menu of the National Press Club, which had slipped real Texas chili onto the club's dinner offerings. Goldwater asserted that Arizona's chili was superior. Senator John Tower, Republican Texas, rebutted, and the debate was on. Senator Robert A. Taft, Jr., Republican Ohio, put both Texas and Arizona in their place with a speech on the floor of the upper house in which he asserted each, Tower and Goldwater, likened the other chili to barnyard apples and possibly both spoke truly. The only real chili comes from Cincinnati. Funny story, 2005 West Virginia-Cincinnati game in Cincinnati. Mountaineer Field or most other venues West Virginia played did not sell beer yet. A couple more years before beer became common. However, Nippert Stadium sold beer. They had one beer booth on the concourse. It's full of Mountaineer fans. Constant line leading up the steps to enjoy this novelty. I got to the booth to find 2 sweet but elderly women working in that booth, Edna and Madge. They seemed tired. They seemed flustered. Madge turned to Edna and said, Edna, what is going on here tonight? I've worked here 26 years. We've never been this busy. Edna shook her head in frustration as she wrestled another keg into place.
Well, the Mountaineers are here.
Well documented, West Virginia. When they go on the road, they will sell some. They'll sell some. Well, yeah. That was Steve and Pat in Tornado. Texter, I always thought Vienna sausages were more of a cousin to potted meat than Spam.
Yeah, probably.
I'll give you that. Texter, hello, first-time texter. Wanted to get your thoughts on the NCAA granting Howard transfer Seth Towns a waiver for an 8th year of college basketball. Find it fishy. It seems like West Virginia players have been met with opposition when they allow players like this more eligibility. Don't try to figure it out. Texter, Three guys, this is AJ in historic South Park, formerly the real Morgan in Morgantown. It's fun when the Mountaineers win, but what's more fun is enjoying the fruits of the best collaboration in sports. Three guys before the game and Rusty from Mountaineer roasting a match made in almost heaven. There you go. There's our coffee. It's the game day grind. Thank you. T-Dub in Barbersville.
Who was that from?
A person that used to be
AJ.
known as Morgan in Morgantown, now AJ in South
May
Park.
have met AJ at the last basketball game. Came up and said he was the original Morgan in Morgantown. I couldn't verify that, but very nice.
Yeah.
By the way, while we're here, 2 quick shout-outs from the Coliseum basketball game the other day.
Uh-huh.
Cooper, younger fan.
What's that mean?
Helps skew our demographics down a
What
little
is
bit.
he? How old?
High school, early college.
That's fine.
Usually when I say that on the air, I've missed horribly on those. And then Launis McMinnis.
Who?
McGinnis. Sorry, Launis McGinnis.
Launis?
Yeah, Bridgeport.
Huh.
Thanks, guys.
Fellas, the key
Thanks
stat.
for listening.
T-Dub in Barbersville. Fellas, the key stat will prove victory in West Virginia's last 2 conference games in the bowl game will be Brad Howe tweeting 5.5 tight end touchdown catch, signed by Fred Cole Taylor. What was the over and under you had on that?
I've got to go back and look. We're over on a bunch of those things. I had that exact, what he wrote right there was up, had it ready to tweet, was about to hit it when they called that touchdown catch back on Cole Taylor last night.
That was a hell of a leg whip.
It's a great pass, great catch.
That was a Conrad Dobler leg whip. That kid's lucky his leg didn't break because he caught him right in the shin. Texter, I heard you mention me on your last episode. Oh, this is the train guy from up there in Pennsylvania. I'm still listening all the time to you guys, but we decided not to attend any away train rides this year. We will be in our seats yesterday. We had season tickets since 81. My first game at Old Mountaineer Field was a kid in 70. I've attended about a dozen bowl games. I might add another this season. However, we do have an upcoming train trip. We're booked on Amtrak's Auto Train in February. We simply drive over from Morgantown to D.C. They put our car on the train, leaves around sundown. Next morning, we're in Florida. And we have our own car to explore Florida for 3 weeks. No dealing with I-95 traffic. One special thing we did this year was the $20 tour of the facilities building, Pushkar Center, on Friday evenings before the home game. New offering by the athletic department. Very much enjoyed seeing all the behind-the-scenes stuff most fans never get to see, such as the locker room, weight room, cafeteria, meeting room, lounge, barber shop. You mentioned, by the way, the Utah game by train. I've already looked into it. I'm going to drive up to Connellsville, catch the Capital Limited to Chicago, hop on the California Zephyr to Salt Lake. Need to leave on Wednesday evening. Train stops in Connellsville, 9:47 at night, in order to arrive Friday night, 11:05 Mountain Time, Salt Lake City. Keep up the good work, all three of you. That's signed by David Kurtz. He's our train guy.
Very good. Looking ahead.
Spreads on stats. How many trees do I have? Signed by Glenn in Scott Depot. Those are Reese's trees.
Ooh. He has all those?
Yeah, I counted them. He's got 216. 18 packages. There's 2 boxes there, 216.
Strong box.
3 guys. Rich from Indianapolis here. I have a 3 guys Don Nehlen talk line causation correlation story. 20 years ago, Hoppy's Coffee Klatch radio program. You still doing that?
Mondays and Fridays.
He directly presented me with an opportunity to meet the coach in my hometown of Logan. Nehlen was scheduled at a Friends of Coal rally in support of a Valley Fill permit at the mine I was employed. I'd been opining my support for the permit. I received an invitation to join Hoppy on that radio thing. Fortunately, I survived the interrogation from Hoppy, and I even got a chuckle out of the host along the way. That evening at the rally, Coach Nehlen tracked me down so he could tell me how proud he was of my appearance and to shake my hand. A very fond memory, to say the least. So in conjunction with Don Nehlen's tribute, I'd like to offer a small tribute to Mr. Kirchville and say thanks for both opportunities. Great show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Texter, I'm tired of all the Jimbo Fisher talk. If he couldn't win at Texas A&M, one of the biggest budgets in all college football, one of the most well-funded NIL collectives, and the quality and the quantity of Texas high school recruits, then what in the hell is he going to ever accomplish at West Virginia with fewer resources and more difficult recruiting? I like Brown and hope it works out. But if West Virginia is going to move on, they are better off trying to find the next Nehlen or Rodriguez than going after a coach who couldn't win when literally everything was in place for him to be successful. JD in the Southern Coalfields.
Tony, a comment about that is that, and I'm not all due respect to Jimbo Fisher, I don't know him. Obviously, I followed his career. I know he's a West Virginian, obviously, but that in West Virginia, we're a small state. We have high levels of insecurity, and anyone who has any connection at all to West Virginia, we really cling to, right? And I think sometimes we elevate them just because they are from West Virginia. Number one. Number two is that Jimbo Fisher, I saw a stat last night because they were talking about it. He had 2 years ago had the number one recruiting class in the country. Number one in the country. They have unlimited resources. And as Brad said, they're paying him $75 million not to coach those players from that number one recruiting class 2 years ago. The third point is that in terms of loyal West Virginians, yesterday Don Nehlen was honored. There's no more loyal West Virginian than Don Nehlen, who's not from here, but came here, built a program, and stayed here. You don't have to be from here. It's a nice touch if you are. You don't have to be from here.
Texter, glad to see Coach Nehlen being honored at the stadium. My only interaction with Coach was when I was in school, working at the Gucci Kroger. That was until I quit when they told me I could only get one home game off a year. Anyway, Coach would come in and get the same order at the deli, tavern ham, if you're wondering, and it had to be from a new piece. Anytime I saw him coming, I would just go back and get a new one, no matter how fresh the current one was. One day, I was fetching the freshest piece of tavern ham for Coach. A new employee, not knowing who he was waiting on him, went to take his order. And he pulled out the one from the case. He was like, nope, 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 I don't want that one. And he points behind the person to me. He's standing there with the new one. I want that one. I finish helping him, and he thanks me for always remembering his order. The other person said, who was that? I said, it's obvious you aren't from West Virginia. That's Coach Nehlen. As far as I'm concerned, he gets whatever he asks for. Signed by Brad, a dislocated West Virginian in Carroll County, Maryland.
Well done.
Was that not – I mean, I know you were there Friday night, Tony, and then Saturday. Was that not just great for Coach Nehlen?
Mind blower. Friday night it was like I was living in a dream.
Yeah.
Of all those guys.
And some of those guys I'm sure you had not seen for years and years and years, and you see them now 20, 30 years later.
Hey, man, how about this story? So there was a linebacker, he's from in-state here, named Jeff Casto that played in the mid-'80s. Okay. Chris Herring, who became a captain of the Mountaineer undefeated team, a great, great linebacker. He's a true freshman. Chris is telling me this story. He said, now this is back when strength and big was everything. He walks into the linebacker room for the first time. Jeff Casto sees him, doesn't say anything, just looks at him, walks up to him and goes, that's the skinniest neck I've ever seen in my life. And he said, fix it. And Chris went like, that's all he said. He said, fix it. He said, Chris said, I did neck every day for a year. He said, my sophomore year, I had a 21-inch neck. But is that the greatest line ever? Yeah. He said, that's the skinniest neck I've ever seen. Fix it.
Was that in the 80s?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very big 80s get neck.
But also, remember, a different time, and what did Nehlen and that staff, and that great staff who stayed with him for years and years, Dunlap was with him for 19 years. What did they do, Brad? They got guys, then what did they do when they got them?
Developed.
Ronaldo Turnbull was there. You think he got developed? Right?
All those offensive linemen.
Oh, goodness. Texter, in honor of Coach Nehlen, I thought I would recount how this photo took place. Atlanta, New Year's Eve, 2022. Ohio State, Georgia playoff game. My wife and I are visiting the Hall of Fame. I'm wearing my West Virginia stuff. Security guard meets me with, you just missed Coach Nehlen. He could see the disappointment on my face, and then like a scene out of The Line of Fire, he radios out. Does anyone have eyes on Coach Nehlen? Anyone have eyes on Coach Nehlen? The response comes back. Coach has been spotted on 2 West. The guard directs us to the location, and we meet with Coach Nehlen, who responded as though he was just as excited to see us. He could not have been more considerate and engaging. As we chatted, he told us that this was his first time there. There he is, Coach Nehlen with the guy at the Hall of Fame last year.
That's a great story.
He deserves every honor being bestowed upon him. Brian from Hurricane.
You know, that's one of all the great things about him, and obviously the on-field exploits, what he did for this program, what he did for the brand, what he did for the legacy of the program, getting you in the Big 12. I think that's the part. maybe most surprising, but the role that he is taking on from a retirement until now, right?
Yeah.
He stayed. He didn't head to Florida and live there the rest of
Right.
the time. He stayed here. You see him. He's accessible. And how many people have those stories of meeting him and how much he's willing to engage? I think
Yes.
that's one of his lasting legacies of is post-retirement.
Yeah. Oh, he's at the Kroger.
He's lived here. He's now been retired longer than he coached.
Yeah, that's amazing too.
You know, Kyle Wiggs told an interesting story on our broadcast yesterday, Tony, that when Don Nehlen was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame when it was in South Bend, and we all went out there, remember?
Sure do.
We went there. And Wiggs went out there. And so we had we did special shows and things. So Coach Nehlen sees Kyle and says, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Kyle says, "Coach, you're going into College Football Hall of Fame." And he said, "Oh, I didn't think it was that big of a deal." You know, he really had a sense, he had a great sense, either intentionally, Brad, or unintentionally, of who he was, right? He never let it get bigger.
No.
And
But who he was the football coach. It wasn't the celebrity part of the job.
Right.
That's what he was, right? So I think the celebrity part of it always kind of, that's surprising.
Yeah.
Because he was a football coach.
Yeah.
That's what he was.
And had a very significant role for years in College Football Coaches Associations, was head of the association at one point, and knew everybody. Thank goodness he knew Chuck Ninus.
I was just going to say that role, as important as it was to Don Nehlen's career, is maybe the point to the legacy of this football program being where it is today as part of the power, what will now be four. Was because of that relationship, the relationship with Ninus, and the ability to get you into the Big 12 when you didn't have a lot of other support lined up and not a lot of other connections were made there. Yeah. That was one that was made.
Texter, late 1970s, my family takes me to Cincinnati from Charleston to see Evel Knievel make his world record jump of 14 Greyhound buses at Kings Island. We stopped at Frisch's Big Boy in Ohio somewhere between Portsmouth and Cincinnati. I ordered spaghetti. That's what I normally ordered at our Shoney's Big Boy in Charleston. Well, when it comes to the table, I'm presented with a plate of overdone pasta, and on top of it was chili with beans, which had a strong dose of chili powder. I about lost my mind. I refused to eat it. Well, at 10 years old, I don't stand much of a chance of getting a reorder. Mom offers to trade me her sandwich, which I refused, and then Dad gave me that look, took me by the ear, gave it a twist, and said, "Eat it, expletive deleted." I'll never forget that, and I never to this day want to see another plate of chili spaghetti ever again. Joe in New Mexico. Texter, Zach Frazier should get 26 yards rushing on the last drive of the third quarter. He's carrying the ball with White. Frazier is carrying White, therefore Frazier is carrying the ball. Roger in Maine. Texter, get the Jaheim White NIL money ready. I have a feeling they're going to call us. Yeah, we talked about that. Texter, maybe there was a reason Jaheim White was a preseason Heisman frontrunner for head coach Neil Brown. Wow. Texter, Willie in Clarksburg. Everyone discusses quarterbacks, Bulger, Geno, running backs, Coburn, Zero-Way, Divine. But who are you guys picking, Dan Moses or Zach Frazier?
Can't.
Yeah, tie.
2 all-time greats. Texter, 3 guys. Seth in Florida, 2 questions. Is Jaheim White the first player to ever rush for 200 in his first start? Also, how in the world was West Virginia's only Power 5 offer? It's nuts. We got to find that one out about.
He's fun to watch.
Texter, here's trouble. This is always trouble. This is always trouble. P1 Jason in Tulsa. I edited this because it was too long. Jason, chill it. Hey guys, first off, from a couple episodes ago, my golf team entry fee that won $5,000 was only $25, so 200 to 1. Yeah, pretty good.
Good hit.
Better than my 150 bet on Brian Harmon to win the Open. Secondly, I've never coached, but I can say 100% Herculean confidence. Choosing to receive the opening kick, dumbest decision you can possibly make. You're giving your opponent a chance at 2 consecutive possessions. Receiving the second half kick can only be a good thing. You either get to continue your own momentum or stop your opponent's momentum. I'd rather have to go to war solo against Attila the Hun, wearing nothing but a loincloth and armed with only a drinking straw, than choose to receive the opening kick. All due respect to loincloths and drinking straws. Great win. Let's go get one in Waco. Love the show. By the way, P1 Jason in Tulsa, someone who signs their text because they're a man, not a prepubescent little boy. P.S. Against my better judgment, I'll be sitting in the front row behind the visitors' bench student section in Stillwater, January 27. There you go. Texter. This is not AI. Roses are red, violets are blue. Hey, Herb Street, it's time to pay up, dude. So, yeah, see, remember he said if West Virginia wins 6 games, I'll give you anything you want. More than 6 games, well, guess what?
Hit
There you
him
go.
up for some NIL money.
Yeah. Texter, hey, 3 guys. Can you 3 use your collective prowess this offseason to get the athletic department to do some effort in to get Milan pushcar lights to flicker on and off after a score like some stadiums are doing during night games? Now that we've got a pile of night games, not that we've had a pile of night, but it really had a great environment. Yeah, so that's in store. West Virginia's getting lights at the stadium, LEDs, so you will be able to turn them off or on. I don't know exactly when that's coming. It could be very soon.
So that, yeah, if that's in the next year, so then guarantee West Virginia will have no night games.
Right. Everything will be 11 a.m.
Yeah,
Eastern.
yeah.
11 a.m. Eastern.
Correct. 6 a.m. Eastern kick.
First of all, great job, Lou Holtzing Cincinnati last week, guys. Y'all talked them up like West Virginia was playing the Montana-era 49ers. In all seriousness, that's exactly what good teams do to bad teams. You dominate them. People complain all the schedule they want, but if you do that to bad teams, that's a sign you're a good team. Previous Neil Brown teams would have barely won and done so ugly. That's a huge difference. That is progress. Jim from Clarksburg.
I'd like to think on the day Don Nehlen was being honored, it was more Nehlen-esque than Lou Holtz. Coach Nehlen liked to do that. Coaches from that era did. Now, admittedly, I would like to say I was putting on a show there I actually thought it'd be a closer game.
I did too.
I just missed the handicap on
Well,
it.
you know what? Everybody did. Okay, that wasn't exclusive to you. Look what the odds makers thought.
Yeah.
Thought it'd be a close game. So, and frankly, you look at the statistics of both teams. How much we talked about that. They were very, very close. Doubt. They had a good running game. West Virginia, a good running game. West Virginia coming off a disappointing performance. So, yeah, I mean, statistically, it should have been. But you know what you do? Play the game. See what happens. And West Virginia showed up.
One of Don's all-time greats was when he would want to prod his defense. He'd give him, like, I'd tell you one thing. If we play like we practice today, they're going to have to put 2 scoreboards out there because we're going to blow the first one up.
You know what? Steve Dunlap told a good story when he was defensive coordinator. One thing Dunlap, who was a very good coach, appreciated about Nehlen was that Nehlen would pretty much leave him alone. So you coach the defense, you figure out what's going on. But if it got like mid-third quarter and West Virginia's offense wasn't doing very well, Dunlap would hear from Coach Nehlen say, "Steve, better try something because we're not going to be able to do anything on our side."
Texter, Joe in Barbersville, nice win. Nice performance all the way around. Heading to Fort Myers in the morning via Charleston, hoping for a meeting with UVA Wednesday night in the championship game. Side note, Tony, there's a golf scramble Tuesday morning hosted by the Fort Myers Alumni Club. Since you're there, I think you'd make a good caddy. I figure Hoppy's on vacation next week. He needs to take more vacation. He takes more doggone days than a federal employee. So no need to invite him. Brad, you're welcome too. And props on the Cincinnati defense being bad against rushing quarterbacks. Spreads hitting those stats square in the numbers.
Brad, you were on the money.
Was he prancing around the studio during the game?
But I tell you what, he had his you take his stats, and also he does Brad's How to Win the Game, had key points. Brad was absolutely on. If his pro football grade would be like 92.
Yeah, he was good.
He was on it.
Miguel in Manassas Park, Senator, Beermeister, and Barista, enjoying watching the seniors leave it all on the field. But how's this from a friend of your program, Brett McMurphy? Thanks for having us. New Mexico State gets $1.8 million check to go play Auburn and beats them.
Yeah,
31-10. They were 26-point favorites, Tigers were. Also, unreal job by Jerry Kill at New Mexico State. Aggies play for the CUSA title in 2 weeks against Liberty. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Can't wait for the season.
Yeah, that was a good thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was.
Texter, lunch
Real quick,
pail.
would encourage New Mexico State fans listening to the show, they could head to episode800.com and get a thanks for having us T-shirt for the holidays.
Yeah, perfect.
They would be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Lunch pail performance by West Virginia. Never a doubt from the opening kickoff we're going to win. Only 43,000 on a beautiful day. They always struggle with attendance for some reason on the last home game.
That was not lunch pail. That was buffet. That was just pick out what you want.
Well,
it's all there.
They struggle with attendance on the last home game because the students aren't there.
Yes.
The dorm closed Friday and deer hunting. Okay? A lot of people. I mean, that's probably what?
Yes.
Is that, Brad? Is that 7?
Coming off a loss.
Is that 7,000?
Easy.
Okay.
Well, the students alone covers that number.
Okay, whatever. 5-1 at home. They defended their home turf. Great to see a team match their identity. Joe in Charleston, South Carolina. Perryopolis, Phil. Born in the early 80s, started going to games in the early 90s. I've got more memorable games with Cincy than Penn State. 0-2 crossbar, lights out at Nippert 0-5. The 0-8 almost comeback. So, to agree with Brad, they are more of a rival. White had a great blackout game. Did Jaheim White earn his or his chill sun tonight. I remember Avon used to have that thing that said chill sun on his mouthpiece. Yeah. Texter, Bill, graduate of the WVU in 1965. I saw my first Mountaineer game in 53. West Virginia defeated Pitt 17-7. I was 10 years old, became a lifelong fan, graduated from WVU 65, and during my work life, my family and I attended almost every home game during Coach Nehlen's tenure. Our university and state has certainly been blessed by Coach Nehlen's presence. I'm happy for him and his family. Texter, Mountain Mama singing Country Roads in Annapolis. Hey, guys, what a difference a week makes. Watching Saturday took me back to the future. Seeing a Mountaineer in New Jersey emblazoned on the back with white working his magic running at Mountaineer Field. What an electrifying performance. Can't wait to witness Jaheim's future in the old gold and blue. Let's go to Waco and get a repeat performance.
You know what Nehlen told me? I was talking to him, I don't know if it was on the air or off the air, and I said, Coach, you're going to have your name painted up there on that diversified energy wall. He said, I hope they don't use paint that can wash off with water.
Ben from Youngstown. I was at the Pitt BC game Thursday to see a friend that coaches BC. So as any good Mountaineer, I spent 3 quarters trying to teach the BC fans the proper way to sing Country Roads. Hope you enjoy this video. And then he sent me a video, and the quality's not good, but as you can imagine, he got all the people that were BC fans in his section when they played Sweet Caroline to sing it the way West Virginia does.
Well done. Although BC got beat.
Yeah, I know.
By Pitt.
T-Dub in Barbersville, the words of Coach Nehlen. Jerry West gave them pride in basketball. We give them a football team the state of West Virginia could be proud of. Look,
exactly.
You may have read a text from me where I might have called out those who within a 2.5-hour span go from trusting the climb to driving a wedge into this football program. I'm not a fan of WVU. Let me explain. A fan is someone who wants to be as close to the action as possible without having to sacrifice anything. I own land in Cabell County, lived within 20 minutes from Marshall my entire life. There are only a handful of us down here who proudly wear the flying WV, so we know sacrifice. We're Mountaineers, not fans. I can remember when the closest place to buy West Virginia University merchandise was Charleston. Stu's Leave No Doubt, Owen's post-game interview, as the Pride played, Country Roads, Quincy's Run, Major, Haas, Pat, Today, and many other players, coaches, and staff were born from a head coach who brought pride to his team in this state. My first game was Purdue and Mike Allstott. Not the outcome I expected, but I was baptized in the old gold and blue. Proud of this program and today's win. And lastly, ask Brad if there's a stat with the number of times a center blocked his man and carried a running back into the end zone. I think Zach should be credited for half a touchdown. Sorry for the length. Today, a great day to be a Mountaineer. Wherever you may be, we'll be wearing my Thanks for Having Us t-shirt for Baylor. Let's go. Last 2. Tom in Clarksburg, longtime listener, first-time texter. I can't figure out all the Fairweather fans talking bad about our schedule and then want us to change conferences so we can have an easy year every year. Makes no sense to me. Last one, texter. Grant in Danville, Pennsylvania. 3 guys, hello. You think Neil Brown's in discussion for Big 12 Coach of the Year, given we were picked last and will finish in the top half? The award likely goes to Sarkisian, but Neil should have at least getting some consideration, in my opinion. Love the show. 3 Guys Christmas catalog as well.
Agree.
I think I agree completely, and I also think that the Coach of the Year should be not from Texas or Oklahoma. I think if that requires a screw job, so be it. So be it. Sorry. Thanks for having us. See you. Good luck in the SEC. We're moving on. These are our coaches now.
Yep. Agree. He should get some votes. Real quick before we move on, game coming up tomorrow, basketball, Tony. Let's do a quick overview. Look at SMU real quick here.
Excuse me 1 second if I could. 1 second, please.
Bonus,
okay, go ahead.
Segment.
Bonus.
Right, like at the end, if you listen past the credits or sometimes bonus segments, kind of what you get. It's a real quick overview. Pace is going to be interesting to watch here. SMU is going to want to get up and down the floor. West Virginia does not. So SMU right now top 50 in pace nationally, so watch them. So far, and again, take all these with a grain of salt right now. Small sample size, but SMU one of the very best in the land at offensive rebounding, top 30. So you're going to have to keep them off the glass. They're also, here's maybe the biggest concern. SMU is 10th nationally in opponent 2-point field goal percentage right now. So they've guarded fairly well. Now, 2 of those 3 games that they've played where those stats are being used are coming against teams ranked in the 300s. So they were just vastly superior against A&M. They lost a game. It was close-ish for a while, 79-66. So hopefully West Virginia can find a way to score. But so far in the season, SMU very good at keeping teams out of 2-point range and making baskets.
What's your guess on what the line will be? Because we're recording here at 12:15.
I don't know. You know, I haven't looked at that to see if it's out. If
Ken
I was
Palm.
making a guess, I'll give you.
You
one.
think those stats are accurate? He didn't have his glasses on.
Yeah, I know. That's why I think I'm
incredible.
in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm looking across. The numbers are tiny. It's like 9 point, and you don't have your glasses on.
Yeah.
I think I still got it. This game is going to be a close game. 1-2 points
Seriously?
on the spread.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's not out yet.
But it'll be 1 or 2.
Yeah, well, and I say that because Ken Palm has West Virginia winning by 1.
Let me tell you something. If West Virginia can go down there and beat SMU,
Be a great win.
be a great win.
Great win. Be a top 100 win.
When are you leaving?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Is there a line yet on WVU Baylor?
No, not yet. Tonight.
I'll be out here in a couple hours.
Yeah, tonight. All right, you guys.
What will it be, Brad?
I don't know. I didn't look at any power rankings. West
I'll
Virginia will be
guess.
favored by a couple.
Yeah, I was going to say 3 or 4.
3 or 4-ish.
Okay.
Maybe 2.
All right, we're done with whatever it is that we just did. Thanks so very much for being with us. So here's the dealio. We're not releasing Thursday because it's Thanksgiving and we want you to eat yams. Spend your day eating yams. We will be on Friday morning. The show will be out for a preview of Baylor. Will be about 10:30 Eastern.
Don't overpromise. Just say Friday morning.
Friday morning, 10. It's got to be. I got to get on the plane. 10:30 Eastern. If it's not there, I'll give you Brad's home number.
You can then stop listening to Talkline and switch over to the 3 guys.
Yeah. Make sure you don't miss Steam release. Thanks for coming in, boys.
Yeah, our
This is
pleasure.
the last time we're doing this on Sunday. Next week we'll do it on Monday.
Oh, I think Sunday's important.
Good. Go to church.
In-season Sundays are done, huh?
Yeah, this is it.
Fast.
Season's
Yeah, it was
over.
fast.
That was good.
Fast
We were
season.
forced into it, but it seemed to work all right.
Well, but wait,
All right.
because there'll be something weird will happen. We'll have to do a Sunday.
That's true. This won't be the last Sunday.
West Virginia will
It'll be weird. Some basketball, some
Conference
travel
change,
stuff will be weird. We'll have to come in on Sunday.
we had to do some Sundays during the summer. Crazy stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
3 Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure,
We're
and
on call.
efficient for 25 years. What'd you say?
We're on call.
By the way, good luck to WVU's men's soccer team this afternoon, Louisville, 2 p.m.
That's a good one. Of all the people in the world that are on call, is there anybody that's less important to be on call than we would be with this show?
We're like firemen. We come down the pole. Ding, 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 ding. Needed 3 guys.
Without really any real purpose or
Yeah,
job.
really. You're on
job
call.
importance.
Got to get in there and talk about sports.
Gotta go talk.
3 Guys brought to us by Gomart. Go for
Don't worry
good
about the
times.
fire.
Go for Gomart. Get the rewards card. Save money on fuel, food, and all stuff. By Lou Wendell Marine Sales. Take advantage of the Tri-Tune pontoon from Avalon. Just say we're a 3 Guys listener, you're a 3 Guys listener, and you got it. LouWendellMarineSales.com. And by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. Have yourself a wonderful Thanksgiving. Keep following them there, Mountaineers. They got Monday and Wednesday basketball games. We'll see how it all looks. We're back with you on Friday to preview the Baylor Bears and the Mountaineers, and we be done. Thanks to our producer, Luke Rousey. See you.